Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Nguyen, and the Insider crew.
Welcome, everyone. We are in Monterey, California. I don't know, have we recorded a podcast outside before? This is pretty liberating.
I think we have. I don't think we've ever recorded one without your sheet of paper on a phone. I of course, didn't bring my laptop because I put it in a safe space in the hotel safe, and then I forgot to bring it with me here.
Yeah. So we're here at Monterey Pines Golf Course. If you haven't guessed, we are preparing for Works Reunion, which happens tomorrow. It's the Thursday before Works Reunion. And knock on faux wood,
Trex.
I guess. Yeah. Knock on Trex that things are going along swimmingly. And in the middle of all this, why not record a podcast? Sure. Usually you'll see our guest at the track, and I'll introduce him in a moment. I want to make sure we thank Pirelli, our presenting sponsor. Pirelli tires to achieve the highest levels of performance, safety, noiselessness, and grip on the road surface. Innovative tires that can satisfy even the most specific and indiscriminate mobility needs for the end consumer. Thank you to all of you that are listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and own a Porsche, what are you waiting for? Grab that VIN and make yourself a PCA member. And for those of you that don't currently own a Porsche, check out our test drive program. Again, PCA.org. We'd love to unlock the resources and help you find that Porsche for your driveway garage.
And I'm glad that you not mentioned that this event is sponsored by another tire manufacturer.
Well, it's okay. It's okay.
I was
it's
hoping
Car Week. They can all coexist.
Yes,
I was hoping in the background I wasn't going to pick up the tire
No,
manufacturer's
it's just
flag.
fine. We coexist. We coexist. Works Reunion, and what Manny is talking about is Works Reunion is actually Monterey is presented
Monterey, yeah.
is presented by Michelin. So
Amelia Allen is Pirelli.
Exactly. So we have Damon's at the controls. He's off camera. You're not going to be able to see him. Of course, Manny always to the right here. And our special guest, I'm going to let Manny introduce him.
Well, I mean, he's the dad of probably the most famous dinosaur race car there is. I told people around here, I said, Gunnar Jeanette's coming. And they looked at me first. I'm like, Rexy? And they're like, oh yeah. I said, AO Racing's team principal and so much more. I remember Gunnar when he was racing, and he was one of the youngest racers around, and Kevin Jeanette's son. It was just this whole all-in-the-family Porsche family, and to see him coming up and racing and being so good at racing, it was a blast when I would go to races, and he was in one of the cars. Maybe even if it wasn't a Porsche, but the fact that you were like rooting for him to do well.
Would you mind giving us growing up Jeanette?
Yeah. So yeah. First and foremost, my father, Kevin Jeanette, he's from California originally, moved to Florida in the early 80s, just before I was born, to work for Jerry Sutterfield and Miles Collier.
Oh, sure.
And so, with that, at that time, he was restoring cars for Jerry and Miles, and actually through Jerry, the Porsche Factory. But then he was also running race teams with Preston Henn and the Whittington brothers and
Who's who.
Yeah, exactly. And so I grew up in Southern Florida with my dad having a shop where he restored cars, but then also not consistently, but race teams where he would work for Busby or, work for, like I said, Preston Henn, a lot of the 935 teams, Bayside, the Bruce Levin, that kind of thing. So then I'm going to the, professional racetrack as a kid, at least the Florida ones. And the Florida ones are pretty big ones, right? Daytona 24 hours, Sebring 12 hours. At that time, they had the West Palm Beach Grand Prix, which we were from West Palm, so it was pretty cool to have a street race right there. And, I'm 3 years old, going to the racetrack, 5 years old, always on the fence outside, like, man, when can I get into the hot pits? And whenever the car would come out, my job is I'm the guy that sweeps and cleans the car, right? So So that was my life growing up sort of around that. And then at the shop, I think when I was like 5 or 6, he got me a little 5 horsepower Briggs & Stratton go-kart. And so in the summertime, like, close the gate at the shop and make a little course and go one direction. And when you got tired of going that direction, go the other way. And then when you got tired of that, like, get out the hose and like wet down part of it and then go do that. And
that was like natural. It wasn't like your dad was grooming you to be a
that's
car
what I wanted.
And that was the thing, right? He was so busy with the restorations and the professional, managing a race team, that, I mean, he didn't have time to be like, oh yeah, let's get you go-karting. And this was very much pre-Max Verstappen race car grooming thing. And so I never even thought of racing. I was just, oh yeah, I'm at the shop, so I'm going to go, hop in the go-kart and just go have fun, or go into what we called museum at our place at Gunnar Racing. And in there were customers, factory 962C Shell Dunlop car, 917s, 908s, coupe, longtail, like all of it. Like,
so while you're
literally
busy,
everything.
did you like hop into these cars?
Yeah, no, I'd literally just go in the museum as, anywhere from, call it 5 years old to 12 years old, and just sit in a car and just be at home sitting in on Stuck's car or Derek Bell's car or Vic Elford or, Joe Sifford and that kind of thing. And it's pretty cool because now, for the last 10 plus years, I've been driving for the Revs Institute, which is Miles Collier, and that collection. And there's so many photos of me as a little kid, like in the 917 PA with Joe Sifford's helmet on, and like that kind of thing. So it's just really, really cool, sort of full circle in life thing that I'm able to do that for the Revs guys. And I mean, I pinch myself. It's such an amazing thing.
What age were you when? Because there's a lot of kids that hop in go-karts. There's a lot of kids that enjoy it. But at what point did someone notice, hey, maybe the bloodline is strong and there's talent there?
Yeah. So we always had this thing where generally every year we would have a fun day at what was Moroso, then PBIR, and now was going to be a Walmart parking lot kind of thing. And with that, like, a majority of the cars would get brought out. And, it was essentially, my dad always said, big boy rules. Like, people can drive them, but if you drive it and crash it or break it, like, you're on the hook for fixing it type of deal. And we did a lot with Champion Porsche at the time, and so they let us take a Boxster out. This would have been probably 1998, and so I was 15. I had just gotten my learner's permit, and my dad had a driving instructor there, and I got to basically
flog a Boxster.
Yeah, flog a Boxster for a day.
A new Boxster.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, we had a 904.6 there with 2 seats, and my dad said, "Hey, you want to go for a ride in the 904?" I said, "No, why don't you ride with me in the Boxster?" And he was like, "Okay, fine." And so I drove him around for a couple laps, and at the end of it, he was like, "Oh shit, I think he's actually has some talent."
Wow.
So
now, did your dad race at any point? Amateur
he raced go-karts as a kid in Southern California, and he would drive the cars and do shakedowns and that kind of stuff at Moroso, but never.
No aspiration to become pro or anything like that.
No.
Oh, that's interesting.
But I mean, just back to that sort of childhood, then like at historic events or shakedowns or stuff, it was always hey, do you want to hop in a 962 or a 935? And there's no seats, so a lot of times you just throw a car cover in. And like, I remember it being so cool anytime that I got to hop in and basically just wedge myself in, and I couldn't even see over the dash, but being in like an air-cooled 962 and just hearing the engine noise and the whir of the fan and the wastegates and all that stuff is just like, for me, one of those core childhood memories that I'll never forget that.
That's a bit different. How?
Yeah.
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 I was
That's
going
pretty
to say,
awesome.
you would, not hearing this, you'd be surprised that he wasn't going to go into motorsports. It's
Yeah, but it's funny because even when I was in high school, like I wanted to be an engineer. I got good grades. Even as I started driving, like I was going to do mechanical engineering, and it just got to the point where it was like it's kind of hard to focus on like first couple of years of college
Right.
and being gone all the time racing, and so yeah.
Did you find that helped you? Because engineering and racing, obviously, they go hand in
Yeah,
hand.
for
and
sure.
Understanding driving dynamics and the dynamics of handling, and did that help you out with
Yeah,
developing cars?
I think I have a real sort of analytical, just sort of methodology and how I work and how my brain works. I never got super deep into the the maths and physics and that kind of stuff from the college perspective, but yeah, in general, yes, I'm extremely detail oriented in that kind of manner. But yeah, made the decision sort of early on that okay, I think I'm talented enough and gonna put all the chips into being a race car driver, and was able to make that successful for 25 years before shifting aspirations into other parts of the business.
So all those years, obviously observing your father and being around all of it, and then starting to drive on your own. Are you then finding your own style, or does Dad give you pointers? How does that all work?
So he was very hands off on
Really?
on the driving stuff, and so for big races that I was driving for a team that he wasn't involved in, like he wouldn't even be there.
Oh,
Like,
really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I think that's from actually being in motorsports. You never want the driver with a overbearing dad, or hey, yeah, I'm new to the team, and you
very
mind if
true.
I bring my
Yeah,
family members along,
Right,
and that kind of
right.
stuff, and I can definitely appreciate that now as I'm running a team. So I'm 19 years old, I'm going over to the Le Mans test, like I don't even have a ride yet, and it's basically like, okay, get on a plane, kid, here's a calling card. Like
Oh.
it was even pre-cell phone for us. So it's
Wow.
like, get into the paddock at Le Mans, start going and making introductions, like trying to find anybody that has an open seat, because things were way different back in the early 2000s
Yeah.
of just how Le Mans worked, and the fact that the test day was a month before the race, so like you didn't have to have everything sorted immediately.
So okay,
But,
so you can't just gloss over Le Mans.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but so you started. Was it vintage racing? That's how you got your.
Yeah.
You were 15 or 16.
So I did my first vintage race. I would have either still been 16 or have just turned 17. And yeah, vintage racing, because of my dad restoring cars and then running them for customers.
Yeah.
It was the easiest way for me to get in it, right? Like we're in the auto industry, but not like a wealthy family that can just go and pay for rides and that kind of stuff. So it's the, hey, Joe, you mind if, I put my kid Gunnar in the car for a 90-minute enduro, I'll give you a good discount on your bill kind of thing. And if he crashes it, I'll fix it for free.
Sounds like a good deal.
Yeah. So my very first race was at Road Atlanta, and I was driving two cars that weekend. One was a 2-liter 911, and the other one was a Interscope K3 935.
What?
And
The
yeah.
Danny on Gaia's car?
Yep, Danny and Guy's car.
The number
And-
0.
Yeah. And that was sort of just the upbringing, right? Like the next historic race I did was in an air-cooled 962, right? Like, and so
Incredible.
yeah. But that was, I had a certain level of maturity to not treat it like an idiot,
Right.
because I knew if I did treat it like an idiot, it was all going to go away.
Right.
So that was kind of, then shifting from the historic racing into the professional racing, kind of the hard thing for me to kind of figure out on my own is like, okay, well, figuring out the limit, right? So this all happened in a very short span. So the first Daytona 24 Hours I did was in 2000, and at the time I was the youngest driver to do it.
I was there for that.
Yeah,
I remember there was a lot of hype before the race about that.
Yeah, so
because you're co-driver.
So I was 17, and my co-driver was one Paul Newman, who is a family friend through racing stuff.
PLN.
And he was 75. So I was the youngest driver ever in the race, and he was the oldest driver ever in the race.
I was telling Bill, I said, I
And-
remember that was a pretty big deal.
Yeah. And then we, continued to race at Daytona for a couple of years after with Paul, and I always enjoyed being around and seeing him operate at such a high level at his age. I mean, he would be, so the next year, that year we raced a Porsche GT3R, the first 996 Porsche GT3R, and the following year we were in the GT1, the ex-champion GT1 Evo in the GTS class, and like, Paul was maybe 2 seconds off the pace.
That's incredible.
And like beating himself up.
Yeah.
That he
Really?
was like, normally I'm not this far off, but these turbo cars, I'm used to Corvette GT1s and, the Roush Mustangs and that kind of stuff.
Wow.
I was like, Paul, if I can just drive a car when I'm 76, like I'm going to be pretty happy, let alone be 2 seconds off the pace.
So in hindsight, do you think cutting your teeth on like the vintage cars sort of gave you a better sort of prep or appreciation before you really got into the more technical cars?
Yeah, and definitely, like, I started racing professionally when you still had to have some mechanical sympathy for the car.
Yeah.
Like the first cars for at least the 4 or 5 years, it was still an H pattern.
Yeah.
Like you still, in the Porsche, you had to use the clutch before the sequential came out and that kind of stuff. And just in terms of how you treat them, sort of over curbing and racing with competitors, it was still some aspect of endurance racing. That's pretty much gone now. Like it is a sprint race. Don't act like an idiot, but generally the car can take what you throw at it at a Daytona or a Le Mans. Sebring is still kind of Sebring.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah.
remember in 2000, I tell my friends who haven't gone to Daytona, I said, you used to be able to walk for the garages at around the 12-hour mark.
Yeah.
And there'd be some serious work being done.
Yeah, third of the
I
cars
mean,
back
replacing
there.
heads and
Right.
stuff.
Uh-huh.
I said, now I went last time, like 3 years ago. It was one car.
Right.
It was like you said, everyone else was running like qualifying laps 12 hours into it. It was insane.
Yeah. And I don't know. I feel like I probably would have had more success as a driver being in a different age or era. Like if I could pick any era to race in, it would be sort of, call it start in the early 70s and finish.
I knew you were going to go there. I knew you were going to go there for sure.
GTP Group C kind of era, right? Pre-data acquisition, when the drivers actually had to set up the car and know what you're talking about, when you had to be able to drive fast but not screw anything up, not miss a shift, and
there didn't seem to be a BOP back then, right?
Oh, can we just not talk about BOP right now? Because,
but I mean, that's
the
why
BOP for our next racing Virginia
Manny's known to
just came out, so,
trigger people.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know if anything new came out, but I do know that it seemed to be a time when the best engineered, prepared cars would win.
Yeah.
Just flat out. You know?
And that definitely didn't necessarily lead to the most exciting actual racing product. But the cars were cool.
Yes.
They sounded cool. They looked cool. The engineering and stuff that came out of it became iconic. Where we are right now with sports car racing and IMSA and WEC, we're probably in one of these golden ages of manufacturer involvement, and just the product and the racing is so good. But man, BOP is painful.
Yeah.
It's got to be heartbreaking to a point because you prepare the car. For people who don't know what that is, it's balance of performance where they're trying to even up the playing field. So, and to their credit, especially IMSA, maybe more so than WEC, the cars on the final lap are still fighting.
Yeah.
And it's like several teams that can win the race. And Daytona 24 has proven that the past couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you said, before it'd be like the last 2 hours, there's just a gimme because there was so much of a lead.
Yeah.
But now you're listed years Daytona. I was on the edge of my seat to the end watching to see that they would actually cross the finish line first.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's painful being a team that really puts a lot of effort into the preparation and equipment and the drivers that you have and that kind of thing, because then all of that, just when you get a 3% power reduction, it's like, well, yeah. But we can go back onto the original topic.
Well, since you talked about equipment, I'm going to pause real quick and thank our more recent corporate sponsor, Auto Atlanta. Next time you're chasing down a part for your Porsche that's been impossible to find, maybe restoring your 944 Turbo, your trim piece for your 914, or a distributor for your SC, Auto Atlanta has you covered. They've been taking care of Porsches, and we talk about the 70s. They've been doing it since 1978. Not only do they have Porsche parts, they ship internationally. They have experts to help you out. No matter what you need, you'll find it online at autoatlanta.com. They also have a team of all-star Porsche specialists that can help you understand what you need with regards to your mechanical repairs, full restoration, servicing, or even detailing your car. They also buy and sell pre-owned vehicles. So if there's something in your garage that you need to move out, they'll find a new home for it. Or perhaps you're looking for something to fulfill the garage, they might have that too. So again, rebuilding your classic or just needing a single clip to finish your project, Auto Atlanta has you covered. Head over to autoatlanta.com to find your Porsche parts. No matter how rare you think they are, they'll probably have it. And be sure to use your PCA code. It's PCA, the number 5, OFF for 5% off your first order. Again, that's autoatlanta.com. Porsche parts, Porsche people, Porsche passion since 1978.
I'm begging our advertising guy to get some hygiene products or something like that. So just to hear him read the text for it.
All right.
With that same enthusiasm.
Hey, that's why I get paid the big bucks. And the thing is, his wish will probably come true, and I'm gonna have to make it happen.
Yeah, like a Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what he says all the time.
And for the listeners, we are literally in the flight path of the Monterey Airport, which surprisingly during the show you never pay attention, but on setup day, all these people that are bidding millions of dollars on these cars this week, they're the ones you see coming and going.
Yes, exactly. And speaking of coming and going, while you guys were talking, a CGT just came by, the one that's going to be next to the stage tomorrow. So all sorts of stuff coming through for Works Reunion tomorrow. But back to Le Mans, like, how did that happen? When that happened? And what was it like?
And once again, your age.
Your age.
Yeah. Yeah. So that year, first time I did it was 2000. So I had just barely turned 18. And yeah, the guy that we had done Daytona with and similar sort of thing, like customer of my dad's, running historic cars, and I just was lucky enough to sort of ride on the coattails and be able to do that. But
what car was it?
Also a GT3R.
Oh, okay.
GT3R,
yeah. And yeah, so I was the quickest guy in the car. And so I did the qualifying, and then I started the race.
Did they expect that, or were they surprised?
No. I don't know. I didn't really ask, nor did I really care.
I mean, were they hoping? I'm sure every team, especially when you had the drivers that are paying their way,
right?
They had the pro, if you will. And they're like, well, this guy's going to get us qualified, and then we'll drive. So I'm sure they were probably expecting that you'd be the one to. Yeah,
I mean, so just to really let everybody know how much experience I had at that point, I think I worked it out. Le Mans was my 8th ever car race.
What?
God.
So I did that. I did the.
You
Atlanta,
must have nerves of steel.
I did the Atlanta Historics. I did Daytona Historics. I did a Grand Am Cup race, which I had to do in order to get my FIA license.
Yeah.
Then Daytona 24 hours.
So you've driven at night at least. You know,
Yes.
It's like to race at night.
Yep. Yeah. Daytona 24 hours, Sebring 12 hours, a Charlotte ALMS race, and then Le Mans.
And there, at that time, there was no sim for you to like.
Oh,
get
no,
used,
no,
used
no.
to where
No.
to turn right, where to turn left.
No, that was
Yeah.
very, very much pre-iRacing or
Yeah.
anything like that. There was a Le Mans video game, and I did that some and watched the Duke videos that had like a little clip of an onboard on
Yeah.
it, and that's how I prepared. Yeah,
That's insane.
absolutely. You know, one of the coolest moments of my life being on the grid as we're about to start. I'm strapped in the car and like fully having the heartbeat Steve McQueen,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
movie moment. And so we started the race, and about 4 laps in or something, one of the Cadillac LMP cars caught on fire. And so they go safety car. And only under safety car, now when you're going slowly, can you like look and take in the fact that there's 300,000 people around this track. And like just trying to then process all of that was was something.
And so as you're first lap, second lap, third lap, when do you feel like at ease? Like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah, I mean it once the race actually started, I mean, you just
click into race mode?
Yeah, you're just thinking about racing at that point.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
And yeah, I mean, since I was the youngest and the fastest, like I want to say I probably did about 11 hours of that race.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, it's little memories now of like, you know, I did a double stint, and at that point, a double stint in those cars, like those cars could go for about an hour and a half on a tank of gas. And the sun's coming up, and this was before they changed the Dunlop section. So it was still, you'd go underneath the Dunlop bridge and go straight down before the S's and Tete Rouge. And the carnival and fair used to be on the left-hand side. And as it's getting into morning, I've been in the car almost 3 hours, and I'm smelling all of the breakfast that's being cooked
Wow.
there.
Wow.
The bacon and pancakes and, sorry, French toast. We're in France.
Just toast there, sir. It's just toast.
Yeah. And just every time going through that section, I'm just freaking starving.
Wow.
And so it's just, you know, little things like that.
So what, if you think back, what was the most challenging part of driving all of that? Besides the hunger, fighting the hunger.
Yeah. No, I mean, I wouldn't pick out any single challenge from that year. The following year, we finished second in class, and I actually crashed the car in practice and almost tubbed the thing.
Ooh.
And it was a German team, and overcoming that to then be able to perform in the race, like that was a big challenge.
I would imagine a lot of that's mental.
Oh yeah, everything's mental.
Yeah.
Like we're lucky to be in a day and age where
Right.
you can have some pretty big crashes, and the likelihood is you're not going to break something or kill yourself. But yeah, there's definitely some scarring and PTSD that comes with any time you have
You can get a good,
big mistake.
Good taste of that with that Michael Fassbender series.
Oh gosh,
that
yeah.
Porsche did.
Oh.
Because same thing happened to him,
Yeah.
and then other drivers, the factory drivers, trying to console him.
Right.
But nothing. He's almost
Yeah.
inconsolable because he knows it was his fault.
Right.
And how do you get back out there? And they're trying to tell him, no, just get.
Yeah.
You got to get back there.
Yeah.
As soon as the
Yeah,
car's
and,
fixed.
and people don't realize how hard it is to drive like an RSR on Michelin, particularly the Michelin Confidential tires at that time, in a car with no ABS. Or like some of his shunts were in mixed conditions. Like any armchair quarterback out there,
Sure.
go hop in a race car with no driver aids or ESC or nannies try to just keep the damn thing on the road, let alone
imagine.
go race with somebody.
Right. For hours on end.
Yeah,
in one of
exactly.
the lower classes.
Yeah.
You're not
yeah.
in the prototype where you're passing
Right.
everyone.
Yeah, and then you have traffic and LMP1 cars that are going 50 miles an hour faster around you.
Who expect
Like-
you to probably move out of the way, right?
Yeah, not move out of the way. They expect you to just
Be aware.
Yeah, be aware.
Yeah.
But yeah, that series, and anybody that hasn't seen it, I encourage you to watch it. I mean, there's some painful things to watch, but they do a great job of showing what endurance racing is like.
Yeah, they add to the fact they had a camera right there
Yeah.
documenting his
Yeah,
breakdown,
yeah.
you know, of I felt bad for the guy. It was like,
Yep.
I can't imagine the pressure. And while it's not his livelihood, it's still, you know,
yeah,
something
yeah,
he wants
yeah.
to excel at,
Yeah,
he wants to do
yeah,
well
exactly.
at.
Yeah,
and he's
you're
committed
putting-
a lot of time
Yeah,
to.
you're putting a lot of effort into it.
Yeah, it's
And at this point, I'm not even sure you're legally allowed to have a beer yet.
In France, I was.
You were. Oh, in
Yeah.
France.
Not in the States.
But you're running at Le Mans. You're 20, 21 years old.
well, he
How-
was 17 when you were the youngest driver to finish Le Mans.
Yeah. So I was
17.
just 18. So in that race, we had a cylinder go down. I forget what the issue was. So we actually went in the garage for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And there, like, you have to complete a certain percentage of the race to actually be classified as a finisher. So like we worked out, okay, how long can we sit in here? We actually took the spark plug out of the bad engine, out of the bad cylinder,
Bad cylinder, yeah.
and then finished on 5 cylinders.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so yeah, it was a lot of effort just to finish, and I mean, unfortunately, you know, we didn't finish as well as we could have, not having the issue, but it was still pretty
finished,
awesome to
yeah.
become the youngest finisher, which has since been beaten, but records
Yeah.
are meant to be beaten.
Exactly.
So whatever.
So you said you're quite mature for your age, and you're doing all of this before you're 20. At that time, what was the long-term goal? Like,
Yeah.
what's next?
Yeah.
How do you drive Le Mans and say, I'm going to do something else
Right.
afterwards?
Yeah.
Right?
So, at that point, the rest of that first year was just kind of hopping in rides here and there that kind of came up. At that time, there was both Grand Am and the American Le Mans Series.
Right.
They hadn't merged together yet, so it was kind of just doing a hodgepodge of.
And still the family business is still going during all of this, right?
Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
Yep. And then, for the next year, we were able to put that deal together to run the GT1 at Daytona, which didn't end so well. We got an oil leak very early on in the race and had to retire because we couldn't fix it. So that was unfortunate. But then, like, there was rumblings of this, you know, Porsche wanting an American junior driver. And so through our family friend Alwyn Springer,
Yes.
like Alwyn was still very much Porsche Motorsport North America at that point. And so Alwyn is kind of helping pull some strings to, oh, you should go do this, oh, you should go do that, like you should hop in a cup car, like we'll arrange a test for you at Weissach to then do Super Cup race at Indianapolis. And so, okay, well, now I'm 19 and
Yeah.
I get to go to
Wow.
Weissach
Yeah.
and test. And then sort of at the end of that year, sort of doing, you know, a mix of other things. And I was still doing a lot of historic driving. And at that point, I had linked up with somebody that had some real big GTP cars. So like the Intrepid GTP car, Lola Judd, like all sorts of like really, really fast stuff. And so I ultimately was going, or I got an invite to go to the Porsche Junior training camp that they were having. And at the same time, Paul Newman had been working on talking to Don Panoz because he had a relationship with Panoz, who, you know, if you're not familiar, like was a race team, had his own car, but also owned the American Le Mans Series.
And Road Atlanta.
And Road Atlanta and Sebring,
Sebring.
a number of things. But so Paul had driven for him also, and Panoz was saying they wanted an American driver. And wouldn't you know, the test for both of those things were on the
same
same
day.
day.
Oh,
Wow.
The same damn day.
Oh.
The Porsche thing was an extended, it was a junior training camp, so you would go over and do like physical fitness stuff, which then would be 4 or 5 days and would culminate in a 2-day Carrera Cup test around Misano. And 2-day test at Road Atlanta in the Panoz LMP1 car on the same day.
Wow.
So like first existential crisis of my entire life. I'm 19 and I'm going, well, like I've always been a Porsche guy,
Yeah.
and there's going to be a lot of juniors there that have been doing lots of Carrera Cup and other stuff.
Right.
Like I'm not a Carrera Cup guy. Like I've
Yeah.
been driving GT3Rs and stuff in endurance racing, but I haven't been doing single make sprint race kind of stuff. And I didn't think that I had as good of a chance to be
makes sense, yeah.
successful
Sure.
in that, sort of environment there. Whereas the Panoz thing, like we know they wanted an American, and we had a pretty good in, and the pool was quite small.
Yeah.
Now I say this like I'm 19. I've been racing for 2 years, and like going up to LMP1 is this massive thing.
Right.
And but yeah, ultimately like decided to go do the Panoz thing, and went and tested. Had an awesome 2 days there, and I got a contract to be a Panoz factory driver.
Wow.
And so that first year with Panoz was as sort of the endurance and reserve driver, but I got to drive at all of the tests and, pal around with Jan Magnussen and David Brabham, who are two of the coolest human beings that I've ever met and got to call sort of mentors.
Mm-hmm.
And then I drove with David Donahue and Bill Oberlin and Brian Herta,
Oh, wow.
kind of across the board.
Yeah, it's all famous guys.
Yeah, and then sort of through that, then it was just kind of bad timing because Audi had come out with this R8 LMP1 car that sort of destroyed everybody
dominated?
else.
Yeah.
So most of the time we had no chance. But yeah, so then 2 years at Le Mans in a Porsche GT3R, and the next year is as a factory driver in a Panoz LMP1. Yeah, and in 2002, that first year we had mechanical issues, and then in 2003, in the next year, I finished 5th overall, first non-Audi or Bentley.
Yeah.
And that was Panoz's highest finish at Le Mans.
And how different is the driving, the experience in an LMP1 car?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. The Panoz especially is different because it was a front engine car. So like the driver is sitting just in front of the rear axle, the rear tire.
Right.
And so it feels very, very different. And in terms of visibility, you're sat low. You've got
this long hood in front,
giant, hood and engine and forward chassis and all of that stuff. But yeah, it was super cool times. And then when Panoz got out of the P1 car and went into the GT car stuff, then I continued on with that program for a number of other years. Then before transitioning into doing stuff with Multimatic. Mm-hmm. So Multimatic, which makes the Penske 963 now.
Yes.
Among other things.
Among lots of other things. But yeah, through the Panoz stuff, I met Larry Holt of Multimatic, and he really became almost like a second father to me. And I ended up spending, lots of time with Larry and his family. Wow. And then, I got to be involved in lots of cool projects with Multimatic.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. So, as a driver, like at that sort of singular moment, took me away from Porsche. Mm-hmm. and competing directly against Porsche then in the GT class
which
and
happens
that kind
with
of
a lot of drivers.
And that's just what I was going to say is that I think in your career you have to just understand that it's very rare that you're going to have a affiliation with a single manufacturer through that whole
career.
Whole career.
Yeah.
And so I've driven plenty of other manufacturers' cars, but it's really cool to be in the place that I am now, that with our entity AO, with what we're creating that with Porsche, that then brings me full circle.
That's
and
a perfect segue.
To even make it more full circle, like when we decided that we were going to do AO and we wanted it to be a Porsche, they had just announced the 992 GT3R, and like just getting an allocation for this was going to be difficult, especially for a team that really didn't exist. Like it was just like, yep, we got 3 guys, we're making a racing team, and
did you get the allocation from? Is this Porsche Motorsports North America take that, or is that in Germany?
No, that was a North America thing.
Okay.
And I, knew Volker a little bit, but it was Alwyn Springer.
I was gonna say,
yeah, it was Alwyn. It was Alwyn. Here's what we're doing. Alwyn knew PJ. PJ had he got the 935? PJ had just got the Andile 935, the swap shop car that won Daytona, and Alwyn went to bat for us to
Wow.
Alwyn's everywhere. In fact, he'll be here tomorrow.
and that was really the start of AO, but yeah, to then have that relationship with Porsche, with all the success that we've had in our short amount of time, is really, really cool.
So for our listeners to understand, you run that in GTD Pro.
Yeah.
So there's 2 cars, but they run 2 classes but the same car. It's really the drivers.
Yep.
But with being the, I think in IMSA you're the only Porsche, right? In GTD Pro. Is
at the moment
so
we're the
the
only
WC.
Porsche.
I know the Iron Dames on.
In the WEC, Manti runs both cars.
Yeah. So here, how much influence does Porsche have on the team versus the GTT cars like Wright Motorsports and the other ones that are just running GTT, not Pro?
Yeah. So with us, it's all still customer racing.
Okay.
So anybody that can get a car allocation can enter and go race in GTD Pro or GTD as long as they get an actual entry from IMSA. We get a certain level of support in terms of parts packages and that kind of stuff, and we can get drivers. So our drivers are Porsche selected drivers. I think only the guys that officially race for Penske are factory drivers, but for all essential purposes, they're Porsche factory drivers.
So I would imagine Motorsports comes over during the race to check on you guys or to see how things are going?
They're watching all the time. Yeah, I mean, in modern racing, with the telemetry and all that stuff, like they're getting our telemetry live on what's happening on the car. They have our radio stuff. We have a live chat thing, so they're always in communication. And yeah, we have a great relationship with the people from PM&A, and it's pretty neat because there's some other people involved in the project over at PAG, like Andy Singer, who is the son of Norbert Singer.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's just back to the cool sort of family thing, like growing up.
Sure.
Not knowing Norbert personally, but very much knowing who he was.
Sure.
And now it's like I get to work with his son Andy. It's just neat.
Sure.
Yeah.
So for our listeners, we always love to give them the inside track or the inside story. Can you share with us how what is AO, how did it come about, and of course maybe talk a little bit about Rexy?
Yeah. So my partner and co-founder of AO is PJ Hyatt. PJ has always been a car guy, went out to Silicon Valley, formed a very successful tech business, was able to sell it at an early age and be able to sort of do whatever he wants for the rest of his life.
Nice.
Which is exactly what I would do
Yeah,
if I had that money.
Yeah, exactly. So he first started doing car collection and mostly street car stuff, then started sort of expanding into some race car stuff, then started driving them naturally as you're going to. But the car collection is called Autumn Oaks. So that's the name. And originally we were going to be Autumn Oaks Racing, but Autumn Oaks Racing just kind of
mouthful.
Yeah. So in the end, we just shortened it to AO and kind of came up with a cool logo. And
I would never guess
everybody say AO.
That's why. AO. See, that's why you listen to PCA Insider. You get the inside stories.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was sort of how AO came about. Rexy is definitely
That's family and kids.
well, yes.
Yeah.
So PJ being relatively new, sort of much like me, Daytona 24 Hours was his first professional race, and sort of and all of the lead up and. Actually, sorry, no, it wasn't his first professional race. We had done the Bahrain WEC race, actually in an RSR before that, and finished on the podium.
Oh.
But PJ still had a carbon helmet. He didn't have a helmet with like paint on it, with a design.
Oh.
And so in the lead up,
It looked like a driver's ed guy.
yeah, like PJ, man, you got to do something here.
Oh.
And so we found a really, really good and creative helmet painter, Mike Savage, who does a lot for the professional paddock, and him and PJ came up with this cool theme to do for his kids, where, well, to reverse even more, he couldn't really figure out what he wanted, so one night he just asked his kids, what should I have on my helmet? And his son said, a T-Rex, and his daughter said, a unicorn. So his first helmet, and most helmets after, have a T-Rex on one side and a unicorn on the other, and they look really, really cool. And especially in the P2 car, because where your helmet is, he's got a T-Rex right there. And so our first race in 2023 is AO. With the Swap Shop 935, it was the 40-year anniversary of the Swap Shop 935's win. And we thought, what a cooler thing to do a tribute throwback livery and have both cars be there. So Daytona 23, we did the Swap Shop GT3R and the T-Bird livery with the andile on it and all that. And getting back to BOP, we didn't have the best BOP. In fact, it was so bad, all of the Porsches were basically in a Carrera Cup class. But we finished the race, and we're sitting in the RV, a little bit delirious, and maybe having had a couple of whiskeys. And I said, well, we can't run this livery more, like it was a one-off thing. So what the heck are we going to do with the car? We kind of went back and forth about a couple of things, and PJ's helmet is sitting right there. And he looked at it and jokingly said, oh, we can make the car a T-Rex. I was like, we can't.
Some of the best decisions with a whiskey.
Yeah. It's like, we can make the car a T-Rex.
Yeah.
And that was sort of it. And then we leave, and I'm going, okay, well, yeah, I think we can really do this. And I reached out to a friend of mine whose father was the BF Goodrich tire rep when my dad was racing 962s.
Oh, the iconic red and blue and white.
Yeah, exactly.
962.
And he was a graphic designer, and he had just sort of stayed in touch and said, hey, if there's any livery stuff that I can ever do for you guys, like I would love to be involved in like creating a race car. And
he told you that, but he was not expecting you to call him.
No, exactly.
To say, how about with the T-Rex?
Yeah. And that was the thing, man. I was like, I called him. I said, TJ, I know you've been saying this, and this is going to be one of like the most difficult things to bring to life. And he was like, all right, let's see if I can do it. And so he and another guy, worked on it for a couple of weeks. And I remember being at our pre-Sebring test in February, and I got the first rendering of the car. And I mean, it wasn't completed yet, but I was just like, oh my God, this is going to be so good. And I got so excited about it. And I left and I went home and I showed it to my wife, and she was like, oh my God, really? Like that? I don't think that looks good at all. It's like, I was just so shattered. I was like, no, this is going to be it. It's going to be amazing.
You just show it to a kid.
Well, yeah. And so we kept working on it, and then to see the car actually come to life when it got wrapped and photographed. And you're always nervous that people aren't going to respond as well to it as, we are.
Yeah.
But, I mean, what a more perfect place to launch something like that than Sebring.
Yeah.
I mean, Sebring has, some of the craziest, most enthusiastic fans, and the people just went nuts for it. And how sort of but my family and my dad operates is, you always need to sort of take it to another level or get people to engage with it. And so, showing up with a car that looks like a T-Rex, like, that's not enough.
Right.
You need to get people involved and enthused. So at Sebring, then we had the Jurassic Park palm trees, and we had other inflatable dinosaurs hanging from the thing.
Of course you do.
And then the actual people in the Rexy suits then around during the autograph session and that kind of thing.
Was that like crew members, or was that the pulp fans?
No, that was crew members.
Okay, all
right. Yeah. And you find out what somebody's really like real quick if you say, hey, you gotta hop in a Rexy, inflatable T-Rex suit and go interact with the fans. But yeah, and the weekend was just a hit, and then sort of continued to grow from there. And then we were running the WEC at that time in the RSR, and so then it was like, okay, well, we can take Rexy to Le Mans. And so then we made the RSR into Rexy for the 23 Le Mans 24 hours, and it went crazy over there as well. And
I remember during the parade, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
The crew members dressed as the T-Rexes.
Yeah.
I was wondering if the French had ever seen that, because we see that here in the U.S.
Right.
But I thought that must have been pretty wild.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it really exploded. And then to create the other characters, Roxy, the pink dinosaur, which was pretty easy to do. But then when we expanded into the LMP2 program, man, I don't know how much time you guys have looked at an LMP2 car, but trying to take that body shape and
well, they're
make
all
it,
the same car, right? It's
well,
like
the LMP2 right now,
is
yes,
Orica,
everybody's running an Orica because that was the best manufacturer. But yeah, creating Spike was way more difficult.
But what a way to differentiate yourself
Yeah.
from cars that all look the same.
Right.
You have one that stands out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sports car racing is it's a great place to get feedback from fans because we have autograph sessions every race weekend. And so the amount of people that come up and give you direct feedback of, thank you so much because now my kids actually want to come to a race, or my wife and I can bond with my kids, or even the parents that say, I wasn't really planning on coming here, but my kids knew that Rexy or Roxy was going to be here, and we're here because of that.
That's incredible.
And that's really, really been fun to see. And then, we keep sort of evolving our presence and show, and yeah, doing things non-traditional. Our autograph sessions, not all of them because of how involved it is, but we do these autograph extravaganzas now, which are actually sort of parties, and we have sort of smoke machines and some pyrotechnics and bubble guns and all sorts of stuff, because we've created such a phenomenon that people line up and will wait for an hour before the autograph session even starts.
Wow.
Absolutely.
So I'm going, okay, well, I want to give everybody that is so enthusiastic something to do while they're in this line for an hour, right? So let's do something and put on a show to make people want to be here and be involved and engaged. And
Is that
yeah,
putting
it's been
pressure on
really
the other
cool.
teams to up their game too?
PJ and I sort of talk about it pretty often that we figured other people would have kind of jumped on the bandwagon at this point and seen what we do, but I don't think people are interested. Most of the race teams, they have either a gentleman driver or a manufacturer or something that is ultimately paying and allowing and funding the program to happen, and they have to want to do that to give back to the fans and the people. And I think everybody's just focused on themselves.
Well, and also it's not easy to do. I
No.
mean, it's easy for us to watch from this side and look at all the fun and look at all the entertainment. But now, as a team principal, and you're managing these expectations, looking at those lines and how can you make that experience better, that takes effort, and some people might say, well, that's taking away effort that I might be using into something else. So it has to you have to have that dedication that you want to do this.
Yeah, and that, I think when people first saw the T-Rex thing, it was that team's not serious because we've got a T-Rex livery. But you know what? You can be serious about racing and be serious about, having fun and giving back and making memories at the same time. And that's, ultimately what we as a team are about is first and foremost, is always performance.
Yeah.
We're not going to be out there if we can't do well and have a chance to win. But yeah, to your point, there is a lot of other effort that goes into
our listeners know that we always give a race report like every other podcast of how IMSA and WC is doing, and I mentioned Rexy quite a bit as podium. So it's not just the looks; it's actually your drivers are phenomenal.
Yeah.
In fact, for the LMP2, we talked about switching drivers switching teams and whatnot. You actually got Dane Cameron, who was the American 963 driver,
right?
And he was very successful. Won the championship, right?
Yeah. Won the championship, and then I'm not going to say what went on in the background, but was essentially asked not to continue with the program. So we're very happy to have Dane, and Dane is helping us to lead the points in both the IMSA LMP2 championship at the moment and also the European championship.
Awesome.
So Dane has been a very, very good addition to our program.
That's great.
Yep.
Well, time is certainly fine, but we do want to try to get in one more topic, and go ahead.
Yeah, I'm
Manny.
happy to continue for as long as you guys want.
Yeah, so this will be an article that's going to come out in Panorama. We always hear Sonderwunsch, and we know all the guys over at Sonderwunsch and the stuff they do. So it's always interesting to hear. They always say, if you dream it, we'll make it happen.
Right.
And so and I thought to myself, this guy is so busy running this team and whatnot. How did the whole making a Sonderwunsch, if you will, version of Rexy come into being?
Yeah, so we're on the racing side. We are able to get allocations through Porsche Motorsports North America, and so I was able to get one of our team's allocation from 2024, and through dealership partner and a good friend of mine, Rodrigo Salez, sort of put me in touch with the right people to talk to, which ended up being Mason Doran at the Atlanta office. And I told him what I wanted to do. And at that point, it was still early in Rexy being a GTD Pro car. And sort of through the timing of things, the dates just kept getting pushed back further and further and further. I said, I wanted to do a tribute, here are all of the items that I would like to do. And then as the date sort of kept getting pushed, and then we were sort of evolving through the race season, the final build date was then the day after Petit Le Mans. And now we're leading the championship. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, if we win the championship, I want to get GTD Pro champion, and we're going to have all of the race tracks that the car won at sort of on the dashboard. And I really, really wanted the Rexy character that we have embossed in the headrest. And all of these things, the door sill stuff was pretty easy, although we do multiple colors in that, so that was a little bit of a challenge. The dashboard stuff was not too big of an ask, but the embossing a T-Rex character on the headrest and coming up with the die for that was definitely pushed their team. And we went back and forth on it a good bit, and then they finally said, okay, we understand. And it was also interesting because, again, at the beginning, you could tell, priority level wasn't super high for them, but then they started to see and understand, oh, well, yeah, it's Rexy. Like we get it now, and the car's leading the championship, and we've won 3 races.
Would you call the guys at Motorsport and talk to them?
Yeah. And so then, like, everybody over there in Germany got more invested in the program. They're like, oh yeah, we're pretty sure we can make it happen. And I remember seeing the photo of the embossed Rexy sort of after they did the first test piece, and was just like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome.
So cool.
And
to explain to our members, so I know you watch on reality TV these build shows, and they do all this custom stuff, and you're probably thinking to yourself, well, why does Porsche just do something like that?
Right.
But for them, they have to make the stuff last.
Yes.
They have to do all these testing before they put their blessing on it.
Yep.
So something that's seemingly as easy as maybe putting a logo.
Yep.
So they think if you can put it on the head, why can't you put it on the headrest?
Right.
It's not that easy.
Yeah.
Everything's got to work with the material and whatnot. So yeah, it's a big ask when you want to do something like that.
It was a big ask, and yeah, I actually just received the car right before our Road America race. So from getting the allocation in late 2023 to delivery, I mean, was a better part of a year and a half. Yeah. And yeah, to see what they were able to create with it was just absolutely amazing.
Is the color, Rexy's color, a Porsche color, or is it custom
No,
color?
so that's actually a funny story. So that was probably the hardest thing, was figuring out which green to use. And it was only once I got the car allocation and I started doing this, I was like, man, what an idiot. Like, I had the opportunity to create Rexy with a Porsche color, and we didn't. We just used the vinyl color that looked good.
Right.
Because we based ourselves at Porsche Motorsport North America, which is in the PEC in LA, sort of for the West Coast swing when we do Long Beach and Laguna and that. So our team's there racing and the car's there. So when I was there, then I went over into the paint to sample.
Grabbed all the frogs off the wall.
I grabbed all the greens and put them on the car, and I was like, oh man, which one am I going to choose here? Ultimately, I went with Viper Green because that's sort of it goes back to the original 73 RS with the green and that kind of stuff.
Perfect.
So it's not identical, but we did an on track photo shoot with the 2 cars together, and yeah, I mean it still looks great.
There you go. All the any Rexy fans can pay tribute if they choose Viper Green.
Yeah, but I will say, please do not put a T-Rex Rexy livery knockoff on your Porsche. We have many people that do those.
Really?
Yeah.
Our livery is copyrighted and trademarked because we don't want people to have a knockoff livery,
and
leave a Cars and Coffee, crash into a bus, or all of that stuff. So yeah,
certainly understand that.
One of the difficult things with having cars and characters that people are so into are then the knockoff products that come with that. But we're very fortunate to have created something that so many people want to be a part of.
Is there an official 1/18 scale?
Oh yes.
Is there?
Yeah. We have
put that on our list.
plenty of models. Yeah. 1/18th you can get the RSRs from Spark, and the any of the GT3Rs are TSM, which is the official IMSA partner.
Very cool.
All right. Well, let me just remind folks that the PCA Open House is September 13th. We're sold out, so if you didn't sign up, we'll catch you next year. Treffin at Sea 2025, our 70th anniversary cruise, Saturday, August 30th to September 6th. Also sold out. We'll see you on the next Treffin at Sea.
Treffin at Sea sold out?
It's sold out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Alwyn's coming to it.
Alwyn's coming to that as
bring up
well.
on the high seas.
Yeah.
We talked about sim racing earlier, so if you want to check out PCA's version of sim racing, PCAsimracing.com. Looking for PCA Insider swag, you can go to our PCA web store, check out the merchandise we have there, from bottles, mugs, shirts, and such. You can send your address to podcast@pca.org, and we'll send you some PCA Insider decals as well. And man, I know we could go for at least another several hours. We're going to have to have you come back. You're going to have to give us an update.
Yep.
I will remind listeners, and I'm sure the first video will be out by the time they listen to this. Damon's he worked his butt off yesterday filming.
He did.
We went to 3 auctions, and we just have to look pretty on camera, but he does all the behind the scenes filming
the hard work.
and all the hard work. And we'll have several films or videos, I think, from the trip.
Lots of content we gathered just
keep a look on
from
there.
the few hours that we were here yesterday, and I hope you enjoy them. And I want to thank everyone. Thank you, Gunnar,
Yeah,
for
it was a pleasure.
joining us.
It was,
I know
yeah,
this was
great, yeah.
somewhat last minute because we didn't know what your schedule was going to be
Right.
like, but you came over here, and we had such a great time. We got to do this again.
Definitely.
So
Yeah.
everyone, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Consider sharing our show with fellow Porsche enthusiasts. Until next time, stay safe, and we'll catch you down the road.
Can I say one last thing?
Sure.
as a closing?
Absolutely, sure.
When do we think this is going to air?
This one is going to air. He has the date for it.
It's 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll drop something to any PCA members that are in Chicago regions. We are going to be doing an AO block party open house event at our shop in early September.
September 1st it drops.
Oh, okay. So it's going to be pretty close because the event's going to be September 6th. So
Okay.
this is for hardcore Chicago PCA people that watch
Awesome.
this religiously. We are at our shop going to be having multiple cars out. We're going to actually have a stage where I'm going to talk about cars history. We're going to have maybe an RSR that will fire up and make some great noises. So if you're in the Chicago area, you're welcome to come by.
Manny,
Awesome.
we're gonna make sure when we this goes out, we have to say, listen to the end.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't want to miss
Well,
that
this
announcement at
will
the
be
end.
your second notice. 'Cause
Yeah.
We'll make sure next week's podcast we put in
Yeah.
a bit about it.
This is
also.
like the Marvel Easter egg, right?
There you
gotta-
go.
gotta
Exactly.
stay
You
for the
stated
end.
it very good.
That's right.
Thank you so much, and have a great rest of the weekend.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Damon.